So welcome to the podcast today. I'm here with a friend of mine, Brandon Jenkins. He's the founder and owner of Tier 1 Life Insurance. He's someone I met through some mutual contacts of mine, and we just grown to develop a good relationship, and someone that I consider a friend, a mentor, and someone who, I respect the heck out of him. So I really wanted to bring Brandon on today because he's an advisor, and in our worlds, we're saying, are we competing with our other people in our financial services world or industry? And I don't think that way, and I don't think Brandon does either. I think we learn and benefit from our relationships together and grow and learn. And we're on a lot of similar paths together. So I wanted to bring Brandon on to share a bit about his sort of philosophy on his life and certainly his business and how he's helping his clients really gain that financial freedom and control in their lives. So Brandon, thank you for joining me, spend some time with me, and look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, Tom, thank you so much for having me on. Man, right off the bat, you hit something that I want to kind of reemphasize, right? And I think it's about having a growth mindset. You mentioned that a lot of times other advisors in the business in this space, they look at each other as kind of competition. And I think that through working with a coach, I have a personal coach. I know that you do as well. My coach has kind of helped me realize that you're not meant to work with everybody, right? And that you should have multiple advisors in a single space like this, because each advisor is supposed to work with different people, right? And so I think it's that growth mindset of understanding that you're not meant to help everybody, that the people you're meant to help are going to hear your message and they're naturally going to want to work with you. So I love this opportunity. Like you said, we've kind of formed a good relationship, a good friendship over the past couple years. And I think we share some really similarities in our mindset and the way we approach things.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to bring you on and to always have just wonderful conversations, and hopefully our listeners here will get some good insights from it, from our experiences. So Brandon, I know you've got an interesting background. Just can you quickly share, you got a U.S. naval background, helicopter sort of pilot, and how the heck do you get into finances and all those other things? So you share a little bit of kind of your journey. Yeah,
absolutely. So approaching 20-year mark in the Navy. I'm an MH-60 Romeo helicopter pilot. I graduated from the Naval Academy in 2003 and then have been in the Navy ever since. And my work in the Navy, the reason I stayed so long kind of leads me to what, maybe the next chapter looks like as it pertains to being a financial professional and helping people with these strategies, financial strategies. And it's, the reason that I've loved the Navy so much is because of the team atmosphere and just being able to be part of such a strong team that's aligned with, common mission, core values, and just being able to show up every day in a squadron atmosphere to be there for each other, help each other grow, and help each other get better. And I really see a lot of similarities there in the financial services industry, to where the potential to build a team, right, that can help other people get better and grow is there. And so I think that those similarities are what has drawn me, down this path.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And I, growing up, I think we were similar in nature. We played sports, right? You're on teams, obviously within you and your naval career. I mean, the corporate America, you're on teams all the time. You're having to collaborate. It's so ironic because in school you're competing against the next student, right? Just to get better grades and show off and stand out. But in the real world, when you get out in the real world, it really requires a team, right? A team of people to help you think through things, collaborate, innovate, all those wonderful things. So, as a team environment, that's why I certainly encourage people who are listening around, you need your financial team, and it isn't like one person all the time, right? But it will hopefully empower you to kind of make the best decisions for your family. And that's kind of what we try to help people see. So from a team aspect of it, right? you kind of obviously lived and grown into working with teams. So like, how are you doing that today? How has it migrated into your practice today, right? This team environment.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you can look at it in a number of different ways. One, there's the team as I start the business and start to grow my own business, the people that help directly with that growth. For example, hiring an assistant this year has really helped me start to be able to kind of focus more on the areas of my strength, right, in the business, while my assistant can help cover down on some of those weaknesses. But then there's the other side of it where, my clients, I consider my clients my teammates, right? I want to make them better. I tell my coach actually that, if I can get off a phone call with somebody, and it doesn't matter if I've helped them implement a life insurance solution, if I feel like they have gotten 0.1% better, if they feel like it, right? But I don't know if I can't really know if they feel like that unless they tell me. But if they are 0.1% better, then I feel good, right? I feel a strong sense of purpose there. I really enjoy that aspect of it. So my clients, my partners, so the CPA that helps me with the business, the attorney that helps set up the business structure, the life insurance companies that we work with, right? So I consider all of those people as part of my team.
Yeah. And it's just like anything else, like personal finance, I think our job is to help simplify some of these concepts, things that can be very complicated. And that's really, as you get into it and learn about different situations, the power of having the team at your disposal, a network of people that are like-minded and have their own expertise, and allow them to bring it to the table to help sort of create some solutions for people that are optimal, right, or better than any individual. So it's really important. Who you surround yourself with is so key. So you talked about from a learning perspective, and I know that's a big thing from your end, like constantly learning. So talk a little bit about that, how that's really sort of helped you in your evolution in your business and practice and just in life.
Yeah, great question. So I just believe in humility in general as a guiding principle. And what I mean by that is always asking yourself, what can you learn? How might we be able to do this better? Maybe we can't, but it's asking the question, how might we be able to do this better? And just understanding that so many people have come before you and so many people will come after. And when you put it in that kind of perspective of how long we've been doing this, I think that it just makes you realize that things are changing so quickly, and that if you're not always learning new things, learning how to think, learning how to learn, then you're going to get left behind. And I think that's, more true today than it has been because of technology and how fast things change. And so it's just, I'm back in school again. Not only am I back in school again, but I'm also I'm part of a writing cohort to learn how to write better so that I can communicate more clearly. And so it's never ending. It doesn't end when you get a degree from school. Learning is a lifelong process.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't think my wife's an educator, she's a teacher, and so she's got the privilege of helping shape our youth. And, I think sometimes, in the grind of it all, you can lose sight of kind of the importance of all of that, but you're shaping these kids to be lifelong learners, hopefully. Right. Yeah. And I always tell my kids this, although they probably don't listen to me, but hopefully, enough time sinks in and they're like, oh, maybe it makes some sense. But, that I've grown to love learning so much, and it's back to the humility of that, there's so much information and like, this is part of the fun of living life, right? To learn more, meet more people, and be humble in the fact that, you're never going to learn it all anyway. So, yeah. But it's fun, and you're hopefully helping your clients more. So that's great. So, this kind of ties into a broader thing, and it'll tie into how we deal with our financial practices as well, is having a very strong mindset, right? Because in life, I think, the things that are filtered in our head, how we think, obviously we know the things that go through our heads are, we have sometimes somebody talking to us that we don't want to hear from them.
Yeah.
Like we think a certain way, it makes us feel something, and then we act and we behave a certain way, right? And so having the right initial inputs to it, what's throwing in our minds really is so powerful. And I want you to share a little bit. I know this is a big area for you, and I think this is where we have some commonality. Like how has that sort of impacted you, right? Like having the right mindset, and how does that translate into kind of what you do in your business?
Well, I think, I touched on humility a little bit as a guiding principle. Another guiding principle for me is mindset, like you mentioned, and specifically two different ways, right? One is I believe that you choose the mindset you show up with every day. You choose the way you look at a certain problem or situation, and it starts there. And then two, as it pertains to mindset, is there's going to be so many external events, external circumstances that come into your life that you have no control over. And I've seen in my own life that I have a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety if I focus on what I can control. And it is when that external thing happens, I can control my response to that. I can control what I think about it, the opinions that I form about it. And then by controlling my response, my actions, the decisions I make, that is how I can then take something that could be big and scary and just seemingly insurmountable and kind of bring it down, hone my focus on what I can control, and then continue to move forward, right? It's kind of about resilience at that point. So does that kind of get at your question a little bit? That's how I look at mindset.
No, it's fascinating, especially the part which, we live in a world with, you can't walk 5 feet without another stress, another uncertainty, right? Whether it's economic, whether it's, you hear awful stories in the news, political, well, you name it, right? It's just stress after stress after stress, and it can really feed you. Like you're focusing on what you can control to eliminate that, right? Eliminate the stresses that really are not helping you, right? Stress can be good.
100%.
Right? Stress
100%.
can be good. It pushes us. But a lot of negative stress, right? You're going to live likely a not so fulfilling life, right? Because of that. And we can turn that on or off, and if we believe so. But it's really impactful to me to hear it from your lens, because, we can oftentimes, I'm guilty of this too, is to focus on things I can't control all the time. And it puts an unnecessary burden on my life that, sounds like you found a way to kind of knock it out, right? Remove it from your line of sight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I that's what I try to do, right? That's what I aspire. That's how I aspire to deal with the situations. But guess what? I'm human. And so absolutely there are times when I do let my emotions get the best of me, right? And it's times like that where, okay, I'm human. My emotions are getting the best of me right now. Let me just pause and then start over, start again, right? It's just like learning is a lifelong process. It's, living and learning how to live better and constantly improve is a lifelong process. And you're going to fail. You are going to fail. I fail every day. And to me, the most important aspect of that is the resilience and getting back up and trying again, right? It's inevitable you're going to fail. So that falls into those external circumstances. But how I choose to deal with that failure, get back up, try again, that's within my control.
Yeah, I really believe that too. And it's, I try to stress to those who will listen, if you're not failing, you're not trying, right? And I got to push myself too, and talk to my kids about it all the time. And so this is rooted in something that I know we share a common sort of interest in, which I'd love for you to talk a little bit to my listeners around this, and the idea of stoicism. And there's some great resources around this too. And I know you do. It's something that you've included in your daily sort of practices, and it's helped you build your mindset and around this. So can you talk a little more about that and share with my listeners, kind of your
Yeah,
background with that?
absolutely. I think I'm on my third year now of every morning reading a page from the Daily Stoic, which was written by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman, I think. But that book it was written to be read a page each day. And, for 3 years now, just about, I have started my day reading a passage from that book and then just kind of reflecting on how that applies to me in my life. And some days, some of those passages, some of them don't resonate with me as much as some of the other ones. But I think just the practice itself of, sure, reading the message, but then reflecting on your own life and how some of these things can apply to you and your unique situation, rather than just a philosophical, like, you probably remember a class in college or a philosophy class where it just seemed like, wow, this is all kind of pie in the sky type stuff, right? And so I think it's more beneficial to kind of take that, read it, and then just reflect and figure out how that applies to you and your life and where you're at right now, and use it. It's kind of like medicine, almost a prescription, right? That you can use to kind of help maybe get through a difficult time that you're facing. And I'll tell you, it's through kind of this 3 years of doing this every day that it kind of drew out the importance of that mindset that we talked about a little bit earlier. If you read anything in Stoicism for any amount of time, you'll get that, hey, external events, things, they're not bad. It's your judgment of those things. Focus on what you control, right? Your responses and your decisions and your actions. And so it really kind of brought that out, the importance of that in my own life. And so I think it's important for people, as part of your lifelong learning, to find something like that. It doesn't have to be Stoicism, but to find something, a book, a person, something that just makes you kind of think bigger, big concepts, and then how can you apply that to your own life to maybe make it better and help you get through some stressful times.
Yeah, and it's so key. And I think I only uncovered this a little bit more later in life, is doing that self-reflection really helps you understand who you are, not what the world expects of you, or what you're supposed to be, or what someone assumes you're going to do. That you kind of figure out kind of what's right for you personally, which is, we may not spend a lot of time on that. And, because we're so focused on kind of getting ahead and doing all the things that we're supposed to do, that external sort of influences are pushing us to go towards. And so it's really, really powerful. So how does, and I read the book Obstacles Away. I thought it was really great.
Oh, yeah.
To do. And, I encourage people, listeners here, to maybe just take a gander at that. It's really interesting. And, the punchline to me was, challenges are just part of life, and you just gotta be ready for them. And the next challenge you face, even once you overcome it, there's the next one coming. So just get used to it.
Yeah.
And
it kind of goes back to mindset a little bit too, Tom. It's if you start looking at challenges and obstacles as opportunities to learn from, or even to leverage, into a pivot from maybe a direction that you were traveling in, that's a mindset. To even begin to look at them like that, it goes kind of back to the mindset that you choose to show up with, kind of like we were talking about a little bit earlier.
So, it's great. It's talking about philosophy, mindset, continual learning. So how does this translate to how you help your clients in the financial world, right? How does this apply?
Well, that's a great question. And so I kind of bring it back to, all right, all of this, the mindset work and kind of continual learning, it leads you to be more resilient. All right. It leads you to be more resilient in life. And so when I translate that to finances, I mean, think about a time in your life, because I can, when finances maybe weren't in line the way they should have been. It added an element of stress to your life. And so I think that applying the idea of resilience and applying the idea of controlling the things that you can control, focusing on that to your finances, makes you more resilient in life. And so, one of the primary areas that I help clients is to focus on what you can control. And that is, I earn money. I control where I store that capital, right? And I don't control the stock market. I don't control the real estate markets. Somebody asked me the other day, what's your crystal ball for the real estate market, or what's your crystal ball for the stock market right now? And I said, I don't do crystal ball, right? I don't make forecasts and predictions like that. There are people out there, professionals, who do that, and they're pretty good at it, but I'm not one of them, right? I can't control that. But what I can control is telling my dollars where they go first. And I choose whole life insurance for that, because storing capital there, it makes you more resilient. You are preserving your capital and you're building an alternate source of financing for life. And having a big pile of money to leverage, right, as an alternate source of financing, it helps you weather a whole bunch of financial storms in your life that, if you didn't have that, would be a little bit more difficult to navigate, I think. And so, but it all starts with the mindset and the idea of controlling what you can control, and the idea of building resilience in your life. And it just extends over into your financial strategy for me.
Yeah, that's well said. I without getting into details, obviously we're not going to go into details of, how you structure these things, but just in the philosophical perspective, is willing to learn that this is an alternative place to store wealth.
Yes.
And even that concept, right? That people are open-minded to saying, could there actually be a better place to store cash than, say, a bank?
Yeah.
Right? You get so into a habit. So probably not everyone is as open-minded about things in general. But, this is a one that maybe people on this podcast never heard of before, right? If you're listening to my podcast, you probably have, but
that's right.
Some maybe come across this for the first time. Maybe it's going to be like, what did you just say?
Yeah. It's such a foreign concept to a lot of people. I mean, if you think about even other life insurance agents that I don't think a lot of them even look at it like you and I are looking at it, right?
No.
And you said it, right? It's the willingness to learn. So I think back, 12, 15 years ago, and I was typical financial planning, right? I was maxing out IRAs, TSP, and I'm not even making a judgment right now as to whether or not that was right or wrong, but it's the only way I knew. And basically I had an aha moment when I wanted to buy a piece of real estate, and I had been putting money away in IRAs and realized that I thought I was doing a good thing, but yet I couldn't buy this piece of real estate because I didn't have access to the liquidity, right? And it just was an aha moment, like, whoa, there's got to be a better way. And it was that, what can I learn? How can I do this better? That just then opened me up to be willing to kind of learn a new strategy, a new way of doing things. And I am grateful that I had that, right? Because a lot of folks don't. They're like, yeah, I can't buy this property, right? But this is the way I'm supposed to be doing things. And they never open themselves up to other ways of looking at it.
Yeah, no, it is. And unfortunately, I do come across enough people where that is the case. And obviously, back to how we started this podcast is to help the people that we're meant to help. In a lot of cases, some people are just not a good fit, and they're on their own journey of life and discovery, but for people who are open-minded about things in general, I mean, I agree with you. Like I feel so fortunate. I found some of these resources over time that just opened my eyes up to a different world. And it's kind of opened up sort of my willingness to learn more. Because I'm like, what else did I know that has been sort of sitting in my blind spot in life? And it's just fascinating to kind of get to that sort of realization. What haven't I heard before? What haven't I experienced? So you're using, because you're an infinite banking practitioner, right? You've learned from the Nelson Nash Institute. And so this is where you're primarily helping your clients. And from a storage, and you're using this to also invest in things like in real estate and other areas of business. I know that's how you're helping your clients. Can you share more about that?
So it comes down to my preferred place to invest money is real estate, my own business, right? The whole life insurance piece is not an investment. So that is the capital storage, capital accumulation, preservation, and alternate source of financing to cover down on all the financing costs, not just real estate, but life in general. And it makes me more resilient. And then from there, I leverage that, right? I leverage that growing pile of capital so that then I can invest into my preferred investment vehicles, which are real estate. And, whether it be a duplex for long-term rental or whether it be a limited partnership into an apartment syndication, or whether it be private lending, those are all places to invest once you have preserved the capital and stored it in the right place, right? And then you can leverage it into those things. And those types of strategies are what I help my clients with as well. That's how I operate my strategy. And then I just kind of extend that out to my clients to help them think through some of those strategies as well.
No, that's fantastic. And it's back to the term control, right? What are you investing in? Can you control it? How much can you control it? And hopefully that mitigates risk, right? We always talk about risk and reward, and we've been drilled that mantra all through learning about personal finances. You have to take massive risk to get massive reward. Well, I think there is a level of risk you need to take, right? There's risk that we talk about, being okay to fail, but I think what you're talking about is investing in things you know a little bit more about, and you have more control, and hopefully that mitigates some risk. That's what I hope people can also take away, that you can control aspects of that if you want to from an investment side. You just have to be willing to make the effort to learn it and get around the right types of people, and then it's not just a crapshoot and hope it actually turns out okay. Which I think there's a lot of people who are down that road.
Something else that you kind of reminded me of there is you have to have a framework for making decisions. So you talked about control versus risk, and that is kind of the framework and the lens and two of the primary principles that I look at assets that I'm potentially going to invest in or buy before I buy it. And I have my framework. I have a certain percentage, right, of my assets that I want in these different levels of risk versus control. And so while I can't control the real estate market, for example, I can control what percentage of my equity at any given moment is in riskier pieces of real estate, for example. One example would be like a short-term rental that you own and control, and you're renting it out, single family home that you're owning, controlling, renting it out, whether it's short-term or long-term rental. Maybe that's a little less risk and you have more control over that asset than private lending to somebody that you don't know, and you're just, you're putting them through your underwriting process, but you are really trusting that they're going to execute on their business plan, and you really don't have much control over the asset. So maybe in your framework, you have a little bit less of your equity allocated to real estate investments like that compared to the investments where you own and control and can decide, what you're going to use that asset for, how you're going to leverage that asset, et cetera. So falls into an overarching framework for making those decisions, I think is an important key for people.
Yeah, it's a really good distinction. And especially I know you work with business owners too, and there are some certainly that I help too. But oftentimes you ask, well, where do I invest? Well, where do you feel like you have the most control in your business? Right, you're dictating the direction of it. You understand it better than anyone. Wouldn't that be the place you'd want to put more of your assets?
Yeah,
right,
great
from an
point.
investment standpoint, right? And so this is really getting back to that, and owning sort of what you can control. And this is just a tremendous framework, right? Like you said, like just a little sort of test on kind of where you're placing your dollars and what level of control you have on any of it. And figuring out if you have the right sort of allocations there. We talk about that all the time. And so it's really key to really at least understand where you're investing. And which unfortunately I come across a lot of people where they're not even sure because some advisor put them in something.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so who's in control here?
Yep, exactly. Back to what you can control, right? I don't know. It's not... A lot of times these strategies, they're not for everybody because some people, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but some folks want to relinquish control over their investments. Maybe, I don't know why, but maybe it's because they don't understand it, or they feel like they don't understand it, or they feel like they couldn't make as good a decision as somebody else. And so they want other people to kind of manage their money for them. So that's just not me. And a client who would want to work with me, that's probably not them either. And if it is, that we might not be the right fit. So back to kind of, we're not meant to work with everybody, right? It wouldn't be a good relationship. We wouldn't be a good team, back to team, if we had such different mindsets about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's, when we think about teams and you see this too in your world, having I think what makes a good team, certainly a good leader too. And I know you being an officer and leader, the importance of this is the leader having a good vision of where things are going, right? What matters long-term. We think about talking long-term and about finances. And I remember seeing recently a picture of my father who's since passed, and I saw him with my son today, like in a picture. And I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, my vision is that I want to be able to see my great grandkids someday and share some of these words of wisdom around finance and legacy and impact. And that's a vision that I have that drives kind of the control and things I want to have in life. And, some people have different visions, and that's why all these plans can be unique. And the right people and the people that help you are going to be unique, and you just got to find that right fit. So I really appreciate that. So, listen, this has been really fascinating. Brandon, I think we're on the end of this now, and I think you share some tremendous wisdom around, stoicism and control and constant learning. But, we talk about wealth, and money is, it's just money, right? It isn't what fulfills us personally. So I always like to kind of hear from folks, like in your life today, other than money, where do you feel wealthy, and what are things you're doing to help breed that? And we may already touch on some of it, but anything else you'd like to add with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of places, right? One is the work that I'm doing with my coach has really helped me understand that personal development and constant growth, I believe that starting there allows me then to help my teammates get better and improve. And so, I'm married, I have 2 children, and I feel like it's kind of my duty and obligation, right, to be the best I can be so that then I can show up for them and make them better. So that's certainly one area of my life that I feel wealthy. I feel grateful. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I've had. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be back in school again. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn how to be a better writer, to be able to communicate these ideas. I'm grateful to know people like you that I can learn from, and that we can kind of synergize and come together and talk about this stuff And so I'd say, I feel gratitude. Yeah, I mean, I could probably keep going, but in interest of your podcast time here, I'll cut it off there.
No, that's good. So I'm glad you have a lot to share around that.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So
Yeah.
So thanks again, Brandon. So if anyone wants to learn more about you, Tier 1, like how best to kind of connect with you?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a website, tier1lifeinsurance.com, but the best place to interact with me is LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. I post there every day about leadership, entrepreneurship, resilience, life insurance. So I would go there, find me, Brandon L. Jenkins, find me on LinkedIn and interact with my stuff. If you like it, reach out to me and maybe we can team up.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad I have you on my team as
too.
a partner here. So I appreciate you. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'm sure people got tons out of here. And and we'll definitely be talking more in the future. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.